distinguished faculty, GMP batch colleagues, and esteemed attendees. Today, we are privileged to come together for an eagerly awaited GST session featuring two remarkable speakers, Mr. Amit Raj Sinha, MD and CEO of Sigachi Industries, and Ms. Soumya Dubey, a seasoned strategy and operations manager. Sigachi Industries holds a prominent position in pharma excipients, nutra, and food ingredients, having earned global recognition since its establishment in 1989. Notably, it stands out as a premier producer of microcrystalline cellulose worldwide, operating from 3 strategically located facilities in Telangana and Gujarat, thereby ensuring a robust global supply chain. Mr. Amit Raj Sinha's distinguished career spans over 27 years, marked by leadership in pharma, nutraceuticals, healthcare, and operations. His expertise in solid oral dosage forms, cellulose chemistry, and successful M&A endeavors adds significant value. Beyond the corporate realm, his commitment to well-being and holistic health is evident through pursuits like running and cycling, driven by the motto, "The best is yet to come." Ms. Soumya Dubey, our second guest speaker, brings a wealth of experience in pharmaceutical manufacturing's intricate domains, showcasing remarkable achievements in driving growth and operational excellence. Representing the XLRI PGDM GM batch and the academic community, I extend a warm welcome, deep gratitude to both Mr. Sinha and Ms. Dubey. We eagerly await the insights you will share, which undoubtedly will enrich our perspectives and ignite collective inspiration for growth. Let us all welcome them with a huge round of applause. Now, I welcome Professor Kannan sir to please felicitate our guests. Sir, now you may take over. Thank you.
Finally. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Excited to be here. Sorry about this additional 5 minutes of compatibility issues. So I'm sure all of us are aware of the topic today. But before we jump in, what we'll do is we'll kind of navigate ourselves to the topic and then we'll hit the topic. And I'll be very happy to answer questions after the session. I'll start with leadership. What does it mean to lead? Why is it that leaders do things the way they do? Is it situational? When your outcomes are actually dependent on the situations, is it leadership? No, probably not. It's management. If your outcomes are dependent on situations, then it's management. And when your outcomes are independent of the situation, well, that's leadership. Who's the leader? A lot of us have had independent roles, senior position roles. Do we realize what actually is the leader? Leader is the one who has followers. Well then, what's a follower? Follower is the one who actually volunteers to follow you. He chooses and he says, yes, I choose to follow this leader. And it's not on hierarchy, it's not on rank, it's not on organization, it's not imposed. It's a volunteer choice, it's an independent choice. And when you have followers, you are automatically a leader. Now, the next question comes is, why should anyone be following us, following the leaders? If you look at historically all the great leaders, Mahatma Gandhi, John F. Kennedy, Nelson Mandela, Subhash Chandra Bose, they've had one thing in common. They acted, communicated, executed all in the same way. And the way they did it was by something called as the golden circle. If you look at the golden circle, it's a combination of 3 different concentric circles. The outermost being the what, the how, and finally the why. These big leaders knew the why. If we come from the outer circle, what is something we are all aware of? What is it that needs to be done? Where is it that we need to be going? I mean, all that we are all aware of. Just about, I would say, 90% of the beings, human beings, are aware of the what. Very few are aware of the how, the intellectual property, the strength, the process expertise. Very few are aware of the how. And even fewer are actually aware of the why, the purpose. Why is it that things need to be done? If you have identified the purpose, the battle is won. If we in fact look at the way humans have moved, humans have been growing, prospering over the last many centuries. Why do you think humans continue to grow and prosper? Were they intelligent? Yeah, probably. Were they adaptable? Yeah, of course, they were. But these weren't the prime reasons that they continue to prosper. The fact that they were social animals was a reason that they continue to prosper. So, well, how is it like being a social animal? When you are a social animal, you develop cultures and communities around yourself. And well then, what's a culture? What's a community? It's a group of people having common set of values and beliefs. What's a tribe? It's a group of people having common set of values and beliefs. What's an organization? It's a group of people having common set of values and beliefs. What's a country? It's a group of people having common set of values and beliefs. When you have shared values and beliefs, something very interesting emerges. Trust is born. Trust is a human feeling. It's an experience. A lot of times,
ऑडियो केवल अनप्लग कर दिए। Mukesh sir.
So I think, is it fine now?
Yes. Nah.
So there's some typical noise coming in.
Yeah.
So coming back to trust, simply doing something, simply saying something and doing the same thing doesn't make you trustworthy. I'm sure a lot of us have classmates around who are genuinely trustworthy. That makes you reliable. Trust is something different. Trust is a feeling wherein you feel that you can go out, take on challenges. You can go out, go into the adventure, go into the unknown, and be rest assured that in case you don't get back, your people will be taken care. If you are not in a community or in a culture, you would still do that. You would still venture into the unknown. You would still, be adventurous. But it would be all man for himself. That's the power of trust. Now, as we move on with this trust, with the base of the why, we come on to the purpose of Sigachi. Sigachi has a purpose to make this place a healthier, happier, and a joyful world. And while we do this, making this place a healthier, happier, and a joyful world, we do this within the four boundaries of our value system. Well, what are our values? Respect, integrity, resourcefulness, and excellence. So every time any of us experience Sigachi, you would experience things within these four boundaries. Whether it's a customer, whether it's a stakeholder, whether it's communities around us, you would experience Sigachi as it is within these four boundaries, as Sigachi pursues to make this place a healthier, happier, and a joyful world. While we do this, we are touching lives of 160 million people on a daily basis. The Sigachi products touch life of 160 million people on a daily basis. That's our purpose. The kind of trust, the kind of bonding, the kind of definiteness of purpose we have at Sigachi propels us to move towards this direction. And finally, as we see the base of trust, as we confirm on the why, the purpose, we move on to the 8 mantras of breaking the ceiling. A lot of us will feel, what exactly is breaking the ceiling? For many of us, it is a midlife crisis. For few of us, it is, standing up after a big fall. For few of us, it could be getting the next promotion. For few of us, it could be, being sane at the moment of truth. What I'll do is, I'll take you through 8 mantras of what could be breaking the glass ceiling, and it could be different for all of us. And then thereafter, I'll take you through an example of how did I break my glass ceiling. And I think that will be more relatable because that is something which is real life. Yes, finding a true North Star. I'm sure all of us are aware of what the North Star is. Yes. discovering and aligning with one's core value systems, purpose in life. I think this is one of the most difficult phases to work out to see where is it that my North Star lies. Just like North Star in our earlier days was used for navigational purpose, as on date, finding own North Star is used as a representational purpose to see that your activities, your purpose is in alignment with your inner value system. So before you go back to sleep today, you should be wondering over, thinking, what could be your own North Star? If you don't have one, you should explore, go deeper to see what is it that could be, because that will determine your purpose, and your purpose will determine where is it that you excel. Once you have your North Star in absolute clarity, there are 3 more things that needs to be done. Identifying the energy triggers, the trainers, and the last one, core incompetencies. I'm sure some of us have identified the energy triggers. A lot of my friends say that the energy trigger is spirit. A lot of us who have our purpose identified, our North Star identified, believe that it's not necessarily spirit. For me, if you ask me personally, being on the road, being on the mountaintops, feeling the wind on my face is an energy trigger. That is what gives me dopamines, and that is what is the kick, and that is what is the high. And when you experience such things, you really don't need to sleep 8 hours. 4 hours is good enough, and when you wake up after 4 hours, you are fresh as ever. That is your energy trigger. What could be an energy trainer? We all have people in our life. We all have situations in our life which could be energy trainers, and we just have to be away from them. Situations, people, we just have to quietly walk out. Nothing else. The last one, core incompetencies. I'm sure while you kind of prepared for your exams, you all knew what your core competencies were. Very few know what are core incompetencies. If we can actually identify them, of course, work on them. If you really don't want to work on them, work to see how it can be, maybe in an organization, delegated, in a family, handed over. The job is done. Next, we move on. Raising your game. So this is the second mantra. I have a story to share here. I've had 15 years of military service. We joined in as cadets, and we were given terrible amount of training. I understand there's a Colonel Saab here. It will be wonderful to meet you, sir. So while we were given training, I'm sure training doesn't come in from the officers or from the training command. It comes in from the seniors as well. Seniors are our, so to say, first Mai-Baap. So while there was a practice going on for, disciplining the junior cadets, the seniors got overly ambitious and they kind of stretched themselves, and the juniors put up the whole case to the training commander that the seniors weren't behaving the way they're supposed to behave, and I mean they actually got some beating. That's it. The training commander took it to the training captain, and it became an official case. And when things are official, then it comes back very heavily. There was a lot of board of inquiry happened, Finally, when the day of declaration came, the cadets were all marched up and the verdict was declared. So few of my classmates had to be relegated 1 year down because they crossed the border, they crossed the limits. And while this was being done, we had a Master Chief Gunnery Instructor, a senior guy. He was our training coordinator. I had a very close friend, and that Masab, we used to call him Masab. So the Masab called out, "Cadet, come here." And he ran over to him and stopped in front of him. And then he said, "Cadet, जो हुआ बहुत अच्छा हुआ." And I was standing beside my friend. I knew, and he was Master Chief Negi, and I knew he was a very dear fellow, and we were amazed as to why did he say that जो हुआ बहुत अच्छा हुआ. And we were actually lost, and we were all crying because we had lost some of our classmates. Masab then after that said, "Life में झटका जल्दी मिल गया." Of course, we didn't understand anything then. Nothing at that moment. Years went by. At this moment, my classmate who was reprimanded, who was punished, who lost a year, he is on his way to become a general. He is already a brigadier, he is on his way to become a general. What I speak is that when he got his jhatka early in life, he raised his game. He changed his gear. He said, "I cannot be a failure. Life cannot determine where is it that I succeed. It is up to me. And I have to prove it." And for the next 27 years, he was relentless. He wanted to be the best wherever he was, and he actually is. This is a very good learning. It's important that while we raise our game, we have to be aware that this path is littered with failures. So when we encounter failure on our way, we just should know that we have to change our gear and raise our game. There's another very interesting statement. Adversity creates a perfect moment for audacity. You get the strength out of adversity. Without adversity, it's a normal day, it's a normal being. But when there's an adversity, we get the courage, we get the audacity, we get the guts to do something unthinkable. That is where the inner power comes in. Darker the night, brighter the tomorrow. In fact, there is a saying, Churchill says, when going through hell, don't stop. Don't look back, don't look down, don't quit. Just keep going. It applies to all of us, including me. We have had our moments of hell, and what I know is we just need to keep going. The next one, finding a mentor. I come back to my Navy days. We joined the Naval Academy as young kids, 12th class pass guys. The day we joined, within 3 hours, we were given a haircut. Some of us had a bit of beard, and of course we had a lot of hair on the top. We were given a haircut and there was nothing left on the head. All that left over, whatever was there on the cheeks was all shaved out. We were told then and there at the guard room, you have to double up. We didn't understand what double up was mean. It meant wherever you go, whatever you do, you go from the bed to the loo, you run and go. There is nothing like a walk. If you go in a group, you have your steps matching. So when you put in the left, all the left legs should be hitting the ground once, and then the right, then the left, then the right. Whether you are running, walking, marching, anything. And if somebody is out of sync, the whole class gets punished. So that's not important. What is important is that for the first 3 to 6 months, we are put through so much of pressure, so much of unbearable situations that you feel you have lost life. From whatever background you come in, you might come in with a lot of, you might be the son or daughter of a rich person, so you have a lot of luxuries in life. All that gets nullified, and you start feeling, because you get, you punish so badly that you feel you are the smallest form of life on earth, and the only thing left is to jump into a well. Sincerely, you have to feel it to realize the intensity with which I speak. And once the instructors, our gurus feel that career ka jo hona tha ho gaya hai, they come up and they start grooming us as officers, because the pride, the ego of what came in has been nullified. You are at your lowest form and you will absorb everything that comes in. Everything. So that is when you are told, stomach in, chest out, chin up, walk ahead, look ahead, run, attack, whatever. This is the way we are taught. And how is it that we were taught this? By having mentors from our seniors. Each of us had a mentor. Each of us had a senior who came in and who said, I'm your elder brother, I'm going to tell you what is it that needs to be done, and you would focus, you would see which is the way the well-being is, and counsel us to see what is it that needs to be done. So friends, and of course we graduate on to become good officers, have good officer-like qualities, and imbibe good things, good culture, good sense of nationalism and pride. While we do that and put ourselves in this situation, what I believe is we all need to do it. We need to have a mentor for ourselves. If we don't have one, we are missing out something in life. Mentor could be a friend, mentor could be a senior, super senior, or somebody else whom you have met professionally, where you kind of understand, you have a personal one-on-one bonding, and they can actually spark it out for you. They can speak it up for you. They can actually give you the, open doors for you to have a deal in your favor, push you through a promotion, because they know what you actually mean. It might not necessarily be in your confidential reports. It might not necessarily be in the way things are brought up. So if you don't have one, look around, speak up, get one. Okay, and then we move on to the next mantra. Professional first and stereotype second. This is a very generic statement, but if I kind of speak up the way I have changed myself, you'll realize what actually is the essence of this statement. I took 15 years, I quit Indian Navy in 15 years, I joined Sigachi, and I joined Sigachi as an under trainee. So I was a commissioned officer, and then I joined in as an under trainee. In fact, when in 2004, with all the perks and privileges, we were getting a package of 35,000 rupees, including DA, and a government quarter to stay, and some official ration. When I came in, I was given a package and I was told we can only afford 20,000 bucks, and if you want to come in, you come in. I had no option but to come in because my papers for premature retirement were approved. So I came in, and for the next 2 years, I didn't have a table and a chair. I was in the factory, learning the tricks of the trade, learning production, learning things the way they are supposed to be. Thereafter I moved on, I came into the office, I had a table and a chair, I got to know what things are. But over the next 12 years, what we really did was production, sales, P&L. Production, sales, P&L, nothing else. Nothing else. Because that was the focus. Later on, Sigachi went public. And then came in the analysts. I'm sure you've seen analysts in CNBC and a lot of these business channels. And analysts were grilling us, or rather grilling me, more than my board members. And they would ask me questions which was beyond me. That is when I went beyond the production, sales and P&L and looked into things like ESG. Looked into things like what a CEO should be doing. I actually changed my role. I mean, not in terms of literal designation, but for the kind of activities I did, because I was behaving like a stereotype, not really a professional. Just to give you an idea, CEO's role is at the intersection of a lot of contradictions. We have to show short-term performance and long-term goals. Everybody wants a good quarter and still wants a good 5-year plan. I mean, how is it possible? I mean, it's possible, but it's not so easy. It's a tough call. There are situations where we have to move fast, grab an opportunity, versus being slow to see if it is really the best thing to do. We have to have historical continuity versus disrupting the future. We have to have the contradiction of learning while still being humble, while still being open to feedbacks. So as this role moved on, I realized being professional was the best way to do. And that is what really determined the position I was in. Like I've written it in the slide, start believing that you have a right to sit on the table. Once the belief comes in, then you are no more a stereotype, you are a professional. We move on to the next one, overcoming self-doubt. I have another story here. While being posted in Vizag, I volunteered for aviation. I volunteered for microwave flying. And in the flying concept, we have this thing called as going solo. Going solo is when your instructor leaves you and says, you are free to fly independently. That is going solo. And in microlights, the average time period for going solo was 8 to 9 hours. And here was Lieutenant Commander Amit Raj Sinha. He had done in 11 hours, not even close. And of course, my instructor was not very happy with me. He would say, Sinha, do you really want to go solo? And I don't know, for whatever reasons, I wasn't performing well enough. I had my own self-doubts. Finally, after around 12.5 hours of flying at the Vizag airport in a microlight, and after all the emergency drills, one of the emergency drills was engine failure on takeoff. Engine failure on takeoff is when the aircraft is heading into the sky and the engine fails and you just dive down. And there was a kind of procedure to be adopted, and if you did it well, you qualified to go solo. And by God's grace, I actually did it well, and we landed back, and my instructor, Sergeant Commander De Costa, said, Sinha, you're free to fly solo now. But he wasn't very confident. He said, Sinha, I'll put in a sandbag, a 50 kilo sandbag at the co-pilot seat. Microlight aircraft only has 2 seats. A pilot and a co-pilot, or a pilot and a joyride seeker. So in place of the instructor seat, they put in a 50 kilo sandbag, because the all-up weight of an aircraft was just 450 kilos. If 70 kilos went missing, the new pilot would probably be haywire and he might commit some mistake. So they put a 50 kilo sandbag, they put in harness, they tied in the sandbag, and they said, go solo. And I was of course shit scared. And in the first flight, we're just supposed to have a simple circuit. It is the same circuit which all aircrafts take. They circuit the whole airport before they finally come on to the finals and land. And we were supposed to take off, go to 500 feet altitude, take a simple circuit, turn left, go parallel to the runway, come back, again turn left, and then just land. That was the solo flight. I did it. I was still very underconfident, but thankfully nothing wrong happened and I did it. I was of course given a lot of shabashi, and the instructor felt happy, but somewhere there was still a bit of doubt. And a couple of months later, I was flying solo, and I had my classmates, my joyride seekers behind me, because I was the main pilot and I could take them behind me. And there was one such ride, and I was happily chit-chatting with him, and talking, and we were kind of approaching the landing, and I'm kind of landing, and suddenly as I'm approaching the runway, I realized the runway is not here, the runway is starting there. So it was bad. So I was a very poor student in aviation. Thankfully, I kind of took off again. I pulled in the throttle, we took off, and I made another complete approach, and I landed, and I said, I'm not going to screw it up. I'm going to, be safe, because our lives matter. If there's anything which went wrong, we would actually be killed, because there's nothing there in that aircraft. It's just aluminum frame, all of weight of 450, 500 kilos. What I want to impress upon is, 4 years later, I qualified myself as an instructor rating. If any of my classmates, the people who trained with me would have seen me that I've qualified, definitely behind the doors they would have laughed at me. Sinha kiya kaise? But did it. So what actually happened was, I just said that this is not acceptable and I have to get better. I got better of myself, overcame self-doubt, and here I was training other students, taking part in international events. There were events where we took part, and there was an international fleet review where the President of India was reviewing the fleet, and there were MiG-29s, Camos, Sukhois, and microlights. The MiG-29 got 8 seconds to fly past at Marine Drive in Mumbai. We got around 9 minutes, because MiG-29s went at super speed, and the microlights, our average speed was around 130 kilometers per hour ground speed. So it was because I overcame self-doubt. I believed that I could. I went on to qualify, get myself rated, and be an instructor rating. Imagine a student like that, and imagine being an instructor. I think next I'll go on to is building a strong personal brand. How do you build a strong personal brand? I've read through a reasonable level of books, and what I believe is self-discipline is the only mantra by which you build a strong personal brand. What is self-discipline? It's one of the most used words.
Control of this.
When you don't want to do something and you still do it. When you don't really want to get up and go for a run, you still wake up and go for the run. When you don't want to tidy up your bed, you still get up and you tidy your bed. When you don't want to wash utensils, you still get up, wash your utensils, clean up your home. When you actually get up at 4:30 in the morning and go for a run, it will suck. You will feel like life sucks, but you still get up and you go for your run. You do something which sucks every day without failure. That is self-discipline. If you have this routine in you, I will promise you, you are on a path to becoming more self-disciplined. Think it over. How many times when there is an option, when there is a choice that I sleep late, leave my bed, not polish my shoes, not tidy up the way I'm supposed to be, not tidy up or do the way I'm supposed to be, which choice do you take? Do you take the easier path, or do you take the path of being self-disciplined? In the military service, we don't have an option. We are forced to be self-disciplined because there is no other alternative. We either get killed or we get killed by our superiors. I mean, killed by the enemy or by our superiors. So there is no other path but to be self-disciplined. But for everybody else around, when you have a choice, do something that sucks. I tell you, you take my words, do something that sucks so that you get more and more self-discipline. When you build your strong personal brand, there is another point. Remember, perception is the only reality. I repeat, perception is the only reality. Every time you have a situation, think over this statement and it can apply to that situation. So, okay, I think while we be self-disciplined, we gradually move on to be a level 5 leader. I have tried to bring out certain traits which are not displayed by a level 5 leader. I mean, everything else is positive, but there are certain traits which are not meant to be a level 5 leader. And level 5 leader is the epitome of leadership. And some of these traits which are not displayed, I'll speak it out. Winning too much. Attempting to win at any cost. That's not the best thing. Having a say in every discussion and a debate. On every discussion, if you really have to put in your 2 cents, that's not good. There are other specialists around, and it's sometimes good to keep quiet. Passing judgments, the needless need to rate others, making destructive comments, telling the world how smart we are. If perception is the only reality, let them perceive. You don't really need to be telling the world. Speaking when angry, negativity, withholding information, failing to give proper recognition, claiming credit when we don't deserve it, making excuses, passing the buck, failing to express gratitude, and refusing to express regret. Some of these traits, I'm sure in our day-to-day life, we come across these situations and invariably we do experience or we do exhibit these properties. And if we do, we should be conscious enough to see that we kind of, to build a strong personal brand, to build a level 5 leader among ourselves, we don't exhibit such things. The next mantra, touching your limits. How many of us have actually experienced touching our limits? Emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. How many of us? Fair. Good. I'm glad. What is of importance is that imagine if we are not touching our limits, how is it that we are stretching ourselves? How is it that we believe that we can stand more, take more? You ought to be touching your limits on every occasion. And how is it that you touch your limits? You touch it and you come back. The moment you are touching your limit, the limits are elastic. It just moves ahead. So your limits are technically non-touchable, but you know you have come closer to your limits. And that's very important because the moment you touch your limits, you know you can take in more. There is nothing in life which can actually hit you down, which can press you down. During our younger days, during our training days, we had training in one of our coastal units in Mumbai, in Malad, and there was an 8-story building. And me and one of my classmates said, are we strong enough mentally? We went on to the roof, went on to the parapet, walked the whole circumference of the 8-story building on the parapet. I would not recommend anybody to do it. I was foolish enough to do it. But what gave us a high was that we did it. I mean, if I have to look at it right now, I would have kicked myself. Sincerely. But we actually did it. And believe you me, when you do it, you realize there is nothing coming in your way. Imagine the mental strength I have after that. On another occasion, we were posted in Pune, not really posted, we were still undergoing training, and we had donated 1 unit of blood at AFMC, and we came back into Institute of Armament Technology, that's in Pune somewhere, Greenagar. So life was good, the weather was good, it was monsoon time. And me and my friend said, can we run a marathon after donating a unit of blood? At around 11 in the morning, we started our run. We ran up Sinhagarh Fort, came back 23 kilometers. And technically speaking, in the armed forces, when you donate blood, you're giving some dry fruits, some biscuits and some juice, and you're given an SIQ as an under training. SIQ is sick in quarters. So you're permitted to sleep the rest of the evening. But once you run a marathon after donating blood, within half an hour of donating blood, we ran a marathon. I don't remember the time, but time really was not important. What was important was that we did it. And we ran up Sinhagarh Fort. Sinhagarh Fort is an upclimb. So imagine the feeling what we get after doing it, that anything is possible. I would call out to all of you to see which same way you can touch your limits. Because if you're not touching your limits, you're not really growing. The last one. Professionally relevant. All this while I have been speaking on improving yourself. But somewhere we have to deliver the numbers. less is more, theory of prioritization, and the last two being 200%. If you have seen my slides, you would have realized less is more. The less features you have in your products, the less features, the less complications you have in what you present, the easier the understanding and deeper the knowledge. So there are occasions when less is more. In fact, most of the time less is more. The guys who speak up less, their intellect is at a different level. The guys who speak up more, for them class participation, of course, is paramount. But you know, see, all of us, we have all experienced classes and we all know the cool guys, the quiet guys, and the guys who speak a bit too much, but I believe less is more. In terms of theory of prioritization, we ought to look at the elephant in the room. What usually happens is that we start looking at everything else other than the elephant in the room. And when you look at everything else other than the elephant in the room, you don't really solve the issue. The elephant still stays there. You ought to prioritize. You ought to see where is the elephant, what is the elephant, and work on the issue. The last 2% is 200%. This is one of the most important learnings from design thinking. A fruit takes 98% of its time to grow, 2% to ripe, and the intrinsic value only comes from the last 2%. Imagine the impact. The 98% has no relevance. Likewise, when we work on an assignment, the start is always fantastic. But as we go through iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 10, iteration n, we stop looking at everything else and only concentrate on those few paragraphs, and when we finally give it to our boss, colleague, or the prof, what actually goes in is a bad statement. That's why last 2% is 200%. When we have a project coming in, the project concludes, the start is always wonderful. There's a lot of big jing bang which goes into the start. But when it concludes, if you are able to do the last 2% in the best possible way, it actually comes back as 200%. There's a saying, there are no traffic jams in the last mile. So when you deliver your last 2%, believe it to be 200. With that, I come to the core insights of whatever we learned today, the 8 mantras. Discover your true North Star, elevate your skills to overcome self-doubt with a mentor's guidance while building a strong, powerful personal brand to reach your full potential and achieve outstanding results. Breaking my glass ceiling. All through the experience of what I had in the Navy and what I had in growing Sigachi, there have been 3 glass ceilings which I had to break. And this might have a lot of relatability from all of us. The first one was when I took a decision that I had to quit Navy. I realized all the excitement of having the fun was weaning down, was reducing. And there was some point in time I said, it's time that I earn something as well. So that was the first glass ceiling. It was a very tough decision because Sigachi wasn't doing well. I had to take a call. I took a pay cut, still took a call. From taking premature retirement from the military service is a very tough call because they don't just leave us. And I had spent in around 3.5 years of additional training, so they don't just leave us. But because of my persistence and consistent effort, I managed to take premature retirement and quit. That was my first glass ceiling. The moment I quit, I found myself very vulnerable. I was ash. I mean, I had lost everything what I had behind me, and I was starting afresh. But I had the courage to think that life is going to be good, and we have to move on. And that pushed me to continue to be on the path of what Sigachi was, and continue to push the growth of Sigachi. Now, as I continue to grow Sigachi, for the next around 13 years, things were very good. Then we got a chief financial officer. Till then it was a general manager of finance. Then we got a chief financial officer, of course, who was a chartered accountant, and he came in with a lot of jargons. And I realized that there were a lot of blind spots. I was 44 years old and not good enough. There could be finance guys who could fool me, and that was not good. If I had to be the promoter of the company, I had to know everything. And that is when I said, I have to do an MBA. And after nearly 18 years of leaving academics, I thought it's time to jump in and do an MBA. It was very tough. I mean, I'm sure, we have people to relate here, but it was very tough because I had to manage business, I had to manage a family and studies. I took in the decision and I jumped in, and had good classmates around who literally taught me everything. I mean, profs, they taught us, but I think our understanding level was not as much. From the classmates, from those late night studies, from those stupid, talks over dinner, over other things, the learnings was much more. That was my second class. Thereafter, we continued to grow Sigachi. As Sigachi continued to grow, we realized we would have the growth capital coming in from the bankers. Bankers would fund us, we would contribute our promoters' equity, and then we would kind of pump in, and we would have a facility, we would make new products, we would market it to the new markets, and we would kind of grow the business. There came a point in time when we didn't really have money. I mean, everything what you have is already there in the business. What else can you get? And every time you go to the bankers, they speak, what else is there to mortgage? I mean, what more can you have? You have already given all that you have. So we realized that this wasn't going to be the way Sigachi would grow. 2019, we took the decision that we should go public. That no more bank funds, it will be equity funds, it will be equity from the markets. We went public. If you have seen through November 2021 Economic Times, you would remember Sigachi's subscription was more than 100 times subscribed. Sigachi got funds more than 10,000 crores for the growth capital. 10,000 crores. When we listed on Bombay Stock Exchange, we listed at a record premium of 270%. 270% was a 13 years record break. 13 years of record was broken when Sigachi got listed. Imagine breaking that kind of a glass ceiling. What a situation we were in. 1.5 years back where we were struggling for maybe a 20-30 crore, and here we had 10,000 crore coming in from the public and telling them we are interested in investing in Sigachi. Here we had another situation where you are breaking a 13 years old record in Bombay Stock Exchange, and you know we are a very medium sized company, there are big wigs. We broke all those records, 13 years old records being broken. That was a glass ceiling we broke. Imagine when you have such breakages, such glass ceiling being broken by yourself, imagine the kind of self-confidence it can push you to. Now all this is history, there's no glory in history. The glory lies ahead. Now comes my fourth glass ceiling. The glass ceiling lies ahead and we are working towards seeing how we can break that. The past, the present, the Panch Vidhi. Panch Vidhi is the transformational program of Sigachi, which is the 5x, 5 times growth in 5 years is Panch Vidhi. And that's the glass ceiling we are going to break. It's a longish glass ceiling. We will only know it when we touch FY28. Here, for breaking the glass ceiling, we have a complete transformational office. We have structured our next 5 years into growth plans of what would be the first year, what acquisition would be in the first year, what growth capital is required in the second year, what kind of a team member we would have in the third year. I mean, everything is structured. There's a transformational office. We have team members on board who are transformational specialists. So it's not just me. The whole team is coming together for this transformation. And where we are heading, we are heading to Panch Vidhi closure in FY28. And I'm sure by the time we touch FY28, there will be another program which will propel us ahead. So everything that Sigachi does at this moment is with this objective that we break this fourth glass ceiling and we complete Panch Vidhi successfully. I'll just take you through another model, the operating model of what Panch Vidhi is. This kind of a complicated model, but what actually is seen here is that we have delivery units. Delivery units are at the heart of the manufacturing setup. We have pharma, food, nutrition, operation and management, and healthcare. These are the delivery units to our customers across the verticals. These delivery units are supported by the board members and myself. On either side, we have the steering and the enabling processes and the core business processes. There are enablers and then there are the doers. In the steering, we have the transformational office. Enabling is all the routine functions which are in. In the creating demand, you would see that there are marketing, business development, R&D. Meeting demand is of course the production. The board members are supported by the committees, the audit committee, the CSR committee, the transformational committee, nomination committee, stakeholders. These are all standard, there's nothing new here. But what is significant here is that the kind of steering and enabling processes and the core businesses processes they have aligned with the delivery units to be able to deliver the growth across these verticals to the customer. This is what will drive Panch Vidhi. We move on. I'll take 3 minutes of your time and I request you to go through this poem. This is just an extract of the poem Journey of Litaka by C.V. Kawafi. This represents all the goals and ideals which humans strive for, all the expectations of reward to be received for future course of action. It's a bit philosophical, but after hearing all this, I think a bit of philosophy is a fair bit. I hope the audio comes in.
that your journey is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. Life's draconians and cyclops, angry and Poseidon, do not be afraid of them. You'll never find things like that on your way, as long as you keep your thoughts raised high. As long as a rare sensation touches your spirit and your body. Life's draconians and cyclops, wild Poseidon, you won't encounter them unless you bring them along inside your soul. Unless your soul sets them up in front of you. Hope that your journey is a long one. May there be many summer mornings when with what pleasure, what joy you come into Harbour Sea for the first time. May you stop at Phoenician trading stations to buy fine things, mother of pearl, coral, amber, ebony, sensual perfume of every kind. As many sensual perfumes as you can. And may you visit many Egyptian cities to learn and learn again from those who know. Keep Ithaca always in your mind. Arriving there is what you're destined for. But do not hurry the journey at all. Better if it lasts for years, so that you are old by the time you reach the island, wealthy with all you have gained on the way, not expecting Ithaca to make you rich. Ithaca gave you the marvelous journey. Without her, you could not have set out. She has nothing left to give you now. And if you find her good, Ithaca won't have fooled you. Wise as you will have become, so full of experience, you will have understood by then what these Ithacas mean.
That's it. Thank you very much, friends. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
I can start.
Yeah, please.
So thank you, sir, for such an inspiring talk. So I come from an army background. My father was in armed forces. I have heard this a lot of times from a lot of people, especially from leaders. And there's a debate that has been going on for a long time. That is, are leaders born or are leaders made? A lot of people have different takes. I heard a talk by Mr. Sam Akshaw, and he said that leaders are created. But I would just like to have an opinion from you that what's your take on it?
So,
Thank you.
I believe leaders are made. if you were to see me, I was definitely not a born leader. So leaders are made. I mean, I have that belief, and I'm sure there can be no opposing thought, but I believe that leaders are. Situations, circumstances, your own aspirations make you what you are.
Very good evening, sir. My name is Vidyesh. I come from an organization actually which is very close to the heart of the nation, Tata Steel. And I would like to ask you a question, sir. Since you are the promoter of Sigachi Industries, and I have heard that, I mean, you've been through difficult times and then you came up again and then there was this, IPO. I just wanted to understand from you, sir, I mean, had there been some difficulties, how did you come out of it and what it took to get out of that difficulty and what it takes? If we could learn from that experience, then we could actually become good leaders in ourselves.
So, if we have to, if I have to answer your question rightfully, I might have to just go back on all that I spoke. Sincerely, a lot of learnings. What I have brought in here is from all that which I have experienced. Very limited from the books. Perseverance is one word which I would say is the most important. Situations keep coming, but if you can be consistent and persistent in what your endeavors are, I believe everybody is going to touch the finish line. Everybody is going to touch their objectives, their purpose, their thoughts, their wishes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello sir, my name is Rohit. I come from oil and gas background, over 8 years of experience. So that's a very inspirational speech that you gave us. So my question is, you showed that Panchvriti plan. So I wanted to understand as Sigachi, like, are you also planning to expand in foreign markets? Like, what kind of markets you're targeting? And like, I saw some, MEA, US or other countries mentioned. So are you also planning to set up production facilities, or like what kind of plans exactly? So can you throw some light?
Sure. So at this moment, we have subsidiaries in the US and the MEA. At a later point in time, which is part of the Panchvriti plan, we intend to have facilities even in the Europe and the US, because closer to the customer is what defines us, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. Being close to the customer is a lot of positive impact. Very soon, we will be working on getting the detailing plan of the Europe facility and the US facility. So, we are on track.
Hello sir, I am Ashwini. Thank you for your inspirational talk, and your journey is quite inspiring for all of us. As you mentioned, breaking the glass ceiling, and we are also experienced professional, and we are also here coming for the breaking the glass ceiling. Have you ever felt like giving up? You have actually taken a lot of challenges in your life, but at any point of a time you have felt like, okay, this is not something I cannot do.
Yeah, I can relate to what you speak actually. However, for some very strange reason, I've never had this thought of giving up. When we joined the military service, in the first 2 months, there are so many people who give up. First 2 months is the maximum failure rate, because people just can't accept the change. I'm not sure what drove me to this point that I never looked at giving up. But I would say that if there is a situation in time where you feel that you need to give up, you should be surrounded by few people who have your best interests in mind. One of the biggest success factors is surrounding yourself by people who have your good interests in mind. And if you have them around you, the giving up thought will never come to you. So surround yourself with good people who have your good interests, and things are bound to be good.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Atul Shrivastava here. I wanted to ask, you showed one slide that you have a transformation office right now newly built in your company. So, is Sigachi is going through a transformation of production or overall culture too? You have shown the 5x growth, the punch with the program. Does that office is basically related to that particular thing? I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, so the transformation office is not really a facility office. You know, you can always make a facility, you can make a product. The transformation of what is required is in the culture. Culture is the biggest, the pullback. So we are always kind of trying to hit, and we are always behind, couple of years behind. So if culture can kind of transform, and culture means what? Same group of people having common values and beliefs. This is what I spoke. So if the group of people start believing that we are heading towards the right direction and everybody's success is the success of the company, and people behave within the value systems of what we stand for, the transformation is achieved. In terms of facility, in terms of products, that's just executing a project. But that's a physical transformation. The transformation, what actually happens is in ourselves. If that can be achieved, and together as a team, as a community, as a company, we transform our own thinking, our own culture, we have achieved.
Hi sir, my name is Swami Gupta. I was once a defense aspirant myself. So I have a question that, like you mentioned, that you had to transition from the defense into the corporate world. So all of my fantastic colleagues over there, they have spent a lot of time in their regular jobs, and now most of them are looking for a role change, right? So how do you think that your experiences can help us in implementing and building that particular mindset so that we can also opt for a role change? You also had a huge role change from the defense to the corporate, because I keep on hearing those podcasts where the veterans switch over. And how do you think that we, who had been in the corporates before, can switch over to another role, which we had not been working for the past at least 6 years?
So you have a very good question. I think I should compliment you for this. The role change happens when we leave our baggage behind. I am sure 3 months back when all of you have come in together, all of you came in with a lot of aura, a lot of, maybe some of us, a lot of ego, a lot of pride that I was so and so in so and so. If you really want to transition, please leave that behind. Unlearn. If you don't unlearn, you really can't transition. Sometimes it comes in that the success formula of what I succeeded in my last organization will apply in my current organization, and that doesn't work. Everywhere the success formula is different. So I would say unlearning is the prime most important thing in this kind of a transformation, because until you don't unlearn, you will never succeed. In fact, I myself took 3 years to change from an employee. As an employee, I was part of the military service. I was getting a salary on the 1st of every month. I took 3 years to change from an employee to an employer in my mindset. 3 years, imagine. For the first 3 years, I would behave, talk, do everything what an employee would do or what people expected me as an employee. But it took 3 years for me to transition, and I started behaving as an entrepreneur to see, what actually is of value. Doing things which matter, which is of value. So if you can unlearn, you can transition.
We will be closing this Q&A short. So last question. Mehak, you can go on.
Good evening, sir. My name is Mehak Singh. Thank you so much for sharing your life journey with us. And since you spoke so extensively about your armed forces background, just wanted to make that connect. I come from 4 generations of armed forces.
Wonderful.
And got recommended myself and had to drop out, was rejected of medical reasons. And I understand that you finally, you made that life-changing decision to get into corporate. And I just wanted to know that you finally found what you were looking for, predefining for what you were looking for?
So, I think I'm still in transition. Yes, sincerely, I'm still in transition. My North Star when I was a teenager was different. My North Star when I was a teenager was that no further studies. And I thought military service was good because they would give us guns and they would tell, keep playing the whole day. And it didn't happen that way. But when I went into military service, there was a lot of pride which came in, a lot of guts which came in, and I said that was good. But when I kind of saturated, I realized it was time to earn money and kind of have some money somewhere in the family. Now when I look at it, I realize that when there is enough money, then I feel what is it that can be given back. You know, I start looking at the communities, what is it that I can do for the people around. So I feel there's a lot of transition which takes place, and I think we keep learning. So I still haven't found my purpose, and I mean I have my purpose in front of me, but I believe it's in transition, and maybe if you meet me 10 years from now, I might have something else to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit sir. We gathered today to convey our deep appreciation for the insightful session we have just experienced, courtesy of Mr. Amit Raj Sinha and Ms. Soumya Dubey. As representatives of the HDM GM batch at XLRI Jamshedpur, we extend sincere gratitude for generously sharing your time, knowledge, and invaluable experiences with us. The presence of Mr. Sinha has greatly enriched our comprehension of breaking glass ceiling. He has offered fresh perspectives and practical insights, expanding our horizons and kindling a fervor for the 8 mantras, stretching limits and bringing out the leader from within. We commend Mr. Sinha for his dedicated preparation and engaging delivery, which effortlessly captivated our minds. His skills in connecting with us and simplifying complex concepts is truly admirable. We also acknowledge XLRI Jamshedpur for facilitating this enlightening exchange. Collaborative endeavors like this extend our learning beyond classroom. In closing, let's reflect on the wisdom shared by Mr. Amit Raj Sinha. His guidance will undoubtedly steer us on our business ventures. Once again, our heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker for their time, wisdom, and insights. Thanks a lot. Now I invite Mr. Raj sir to present the memento.